Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Community in Depth. We are thrilled to have in studio with us today director Craig Johnson and actor Louis Youngren. They are here representing Lakeshore Players Theater, and we are going to talk about a great upcoming production that they have, and I'm looking so forward to it. First of all, welcome. Great to see you. Thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
Yes.
So first of all, let's hear more about Lakeshore Players Theater. I don't know too much about it. Who would like to tell us?
Sure, I can tell you a little bit about it. Lakeshore Players has been in White Bear Lake since the 1950s, I believe.
What? Okay, I love hearing stories like this.
I know.
Is it community theater? What is it?
It has been a community theater, and
Okay.
it was located in an old church, and I did 4 shows with them back in the late 70s and early 1980s, and I haven't been back since, so now I'm back after like 40 years.
What?
And now they have a beautiful new facility also in White Bear Lake, right in the downtown area. It's just a gorgeous theater, and we get to be in their little studio black box theater because this is a one-person show, a solo show. So it's a great sort of like intimate little place where you can just kind of like be right in the room and you feel like the performer, Louis,
Super
is
intimate.
talking to. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Well, let's get back to your history. That is so cool, though, Craig, that all those years ago you were involved. How has Lakeshore Players Theater changed over the years? Has it metamorphosed into something new, or?
They've really maintained their community theater kind of
Okay.
focus, but now they're moving into a greater sort of professionalism where
Yes.
people are getting stipends or getting bigger stipends, and they have this beautiful new facility with a large proscenium stage in it that's just a gorgeous place to work for artists. It's a great place to rehearse, and it's a great place for audiences to come and experience theater.
And how new is this space?
It's, I think, about 4 years old. I think it just opened right before the pandemic.
And is that something that was funded by the community?
It was,
Okay.
yes, yeah.
How special is that?
Yeah, it's really wonderful. It's a really great example of a very rich sort of cultural centerpiece for White Bear Lake. And they do a lot of arts education, a lot of theater classes and things like that.
Oh, I love White Bear. I mean, I think they do such a great job on their shops are great, their restaurants are great,
Yeah.
the lake is great. Yeah, I love everything about it. Craig, what brought you back to the area then?
It's really the play. This is a play, I Am My Own Wife, by Doug Wright, that I first saw in New York on Broadway in the original production in 2003 or so. And I thought, like, wow, I was just blown away by the storytelling in it. Then a number of years later, I had a number of friends who worked on it at the Jungle Theater in South Minneapolis. And I thought, like, it still works. It's still great. Then I was working at Commonweal Theater in Lanesboro, Minnesota, and I was going to go see it again. And it was just like one of the actors in their apprentice company was doing it. And I thought, like, oh, okay, well, we'll see how that goes because it's a really big task. So I went to see it, and I was blown away again. And I am delighted to say that it's Louis who I saw at Commonweal Theater. And then he walked into auditions, and I thought, like, oh, let's work on this together. Yeah.
I love this story.
Yeah.
How wonderful. Well, Louis, many people will know you because you are a native of Hastings. Tell people about yourself, please.
Absolutely. I am Louis Youngren. I am honored to be here today and also to be working with Craig at Lakeshore Players on this production of I Am My Own Wife. I got my acting degree from the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse, and I've been pretty much consistently performing, working on theater since graduating college about 10 years ago now. That's weird. And I've done some shows locally. I was actually in the studio with you to talk about Much Ado About Nothing a couple of years ago, quite a few years ago now. That happened at the courthouse, City Hall. But I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be from Hastings, to represent Hastings, and to hopefully bring this show to not only the White Bear community, but also some community from Hastings.
Absolutely. So it's a one-person show. Tell us about that. That's a challenge. I've tried just sitting in here by myself talking. You know, it's harder than it looks.
Yes.
And to try to stay focused or, you know, not have anybody to play off of, I think is really difficult. As a director,
Yeah.
it must be, what is that like?
It's a different kind of experience.
Tell
Yeah.
me more, please.
Yeah. when you're directing a regular show, you have to form an ensemble with a whole group of people, right? So you have all of these different actors coming together, and you have to tell the story together. With a solo performer, my job becomes something a little bit different. What I'm doing is walking alongside that actor, that performer, and trying to assess, like, okay, what do you need now? Do you want to do a big stretch of the play? Do you just want to do? Should we just work this in little pieces, and to figuring out, like, okay, I think that's enough rehearsal for one day, and then sending somebody like Lewis away and saying, like, giving you a day off so that you can come back fresh and bring something back, because otherwise it's just so much it's coming at you.
Well, it almost would feel like you're bossing him around or something, right?
I know. Every single note I have is for him.
That's what I mean.
Yes.
Yeah. It is true. Yeah, it does feel like that too. So you sort of have to take it in smaller chunks and smaller units of time than you would with a full show.
So when you first were at the Lakeshore Players Theater, were you an actor?
I was, yeah.
So you come from this approach then, from that background, and how does that make you a better director, do you think?
Well, Lewis might be able to answer that even better, I think. But I hope what I bring to the table is an understanding of what it's like, what the actor needs at different times, where you sort of set, sometimes I use the image, I try to define a sandbox. And what's the sandbox we get to play in? What are the tools we have? And then how can we work within that framework? And how can we make it a really safe and comfortable and fun, creative space so that different things can happen and we can just play around in the sandbox?
I actually think that's a great analogy.
Yeah, I like using it because it's called a play, so it needs to be playful, and you need to be open, and you need to be free, and you need to be able to explore and bring your creative imagination into the room and to figure out the best way to tell a story, a moment, a scene, a whole play.
So how is he doing with all of that, Lewis?
I actually have some notes. No, I'm just kidding. Craig is not only a wonderful person and a wonderful friend, but he is a approachable director. He asks me what my ideas are for the scene before telling me what to do. And I really think that directing style of collaboration and open doorness fosters me as the actor in an environment where I can really thrive, because my ideas are coming to the table and melding with his ideas. And then, we take this moment and we go, ooh, what if we turn right instead of left, and then use your left hand to switch characters or whatever it is. He brings a joy to the rehearsal room, and he really, really makes me feel comfortable, especially with the pressure of this just being me. He really helps take that off and make me feel comfortable with the material.
Well, I would assume that you have to be on the same page almost the whole time.
Literally and metaphorically.
Right.
That's right. So a lot of my job is sort of being the surrogate audience in rehearsal, of sitting back there and letting Lewis connect with me or connect with the other people. And then I can respond, just in terms of thinking, like, is that landing? Is that moment? Is that funny moment working? Is that dramatic thing? Are we following that? Is that transition as clear as it should be? And just giving feedback that way.
So you could probably do this play too, because you know the part so well too also.
Well, I hope I don't have to. But I have done a solo show before too.
What makes a solo show more difficult, or the challenges of a show?
Your scene partner is the audience. So, and you don't have the audience until you're in front of an audience.
Oh, okay. Well, how do you do that?
I know. Yeah, so,
that's the conundrum.
Of just like figuring out when can you connect? How do you disengage from the audience? How do you shift to another section of the audience? How do you keep the play moving forward? How do you provide enough variety, just physically, vocally, just to keep them engaged? It's all about really just embodied storytelling, which is really what theater is.
Well, what is this play about, please?
Absolutely. So this play is the true story of a woman named Charlotte von Mahlsdorf, who openly lived her life as a transgendered woman and survived Nazi and communist Berlin. Both of those regimes that happened throughout history, she survived, all while living her life in this authentic, open way.
Set in what year then?
The play is technically set between 1992 and 1993. Okay. However, within the play, it time travels back, and Charlotte revisits these moments in her life that were really very integral. And the play is set up very beautifully. And I don't know if I'm using the correct word here, Craig, but I would call this like a docudrama, because The play is about Doug Wright writing the play. It's him recounting his stories, playing back his tape recording interviews of going to Berlin and saying, Charlotta, can I write a play about you? Great. Tell me everything about your life. And he's crafted this play in just such a beautiful way between...
So is he telling the story?
He is one of 39 characters in the story.
So you are
yes.
playing 39 characters?
I'm playing 39 characters.
Oh my goodness. So you have more people to boss around than just one person.
Lots of
Craig?
personalities in the room, yes.
There is, yes. He contains multitudes.
Oh, thank you.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's a beautifully crafted piece of dramatic literature, just watching it unfold and hearing Charlotta's story and watching Doug try to piece this out, and then he finds a Stasi file, and then he finds a newspaper account, and then he finds, an old television interview or something like that. And what you thought was one thing keeps changing and keeps evolving and keeps turning on itself too. It's amazing. It's blown me away every single time I've seen it, like I said, and it's such a great joy just to work on now.
And what is your takeaway from this, Louis? I mean, do you have great respect for, is it Charlotta?
Charlotta, yes.
To be able to be a survivor like that? I mean, in modern day times, to survive would be difficult. But you're talking about a very different time in our world, and I want to hear your take on some of this, please.
Absolutely, yes. First of all, I consider myself extremely privileged, lucky, and honored to not only have told this story once as an apprentice at the Commonweal, but getting a chance to tell it again up here in the at least metro area. I think everybody should hear this story. I think everybody can take something away from this story. And to your point, yes, it was a different time, but kind of looking at the... not to cross a line here, but the political atmosphere of today and the exploitation and violence against transgender people that still happens to this day, I think it really holds a mirror up to society, even though it was written 20 plus years ago, to take a step back and examine what has changed. How far have we really come? And to tell this person's story as a member of the LGBTQ community is something that it's untouchable. This is something that's up on a pedestal, that's up on a podium in my life that will forever be special and forever be something that I look back fondly on. I actually talked about this in rehearsal, the drag queens or the transgender people at Stonewall, all of the transgender people, unlike Charlotta, that died during the Holocaust or didn't get a chance to live authentically. We don't hear about them. We don't learn about them in American history. People like Marsha P. Johnson, people like Charlotte von Mahlsdorf, we don't hear about. So to be able to bring this story to life and not only tell the story, but educate people, educate myself, be in the room where these monumentous moments are happening is just so special, and I don't take it for granted, and I'm very excited to be able to do this again.
And then it goes beyond the particularities of Charlotta's story, where the play sort of explodes and you start thinking like, well, how do we present ourselves? What do we tell the world? What do we keep hidden? What do we want people to know? What do we want to make sure that they don't ever find out? And then how can we look at people who lived in another time and another place, and what kind of values or judgments did they have? How do those line up with ours? How are they different, and how have we changed over time?
It sounds like a very thought-provoking play.
Mm-hmm. Very much so.
Would you say it's a drama? Is it a tragedy? Is it a comedy? What would you call it?
I think, as Louis said, sort of a docudrama. I think it's more like one of those feature stories that you might have of real-life human interest. There are lots of funny moments in the play, really a lot of them. And there are a lot of horrifying, surprising, challenging moments as well. So like any of our lives, we have our silly moments and we have our foibles and failures and things like that. And we have moments that we're embarrassed about or ashamed of. And so it kind of tries to find out what another person is really like and how closely can we really know anyone else.
Oh, it sounds like just such a wonderful story. So again, this is going to be at Lakeshore Players Theater. And how do you get tickets for the show, please?
Tickets are available via the Lakeshore Players Theater box office.
And theater is spelled theater. Theater, right?
Theater,
Yes,
R-E.
okay. Fancy way.
Yes, the fancy way. Otherwise, you can visit lakeshoreplayers.org, and tickets are available online. It is a general admission show, so there are no assigned seats, but
Not a bad seat in the house.
there's
probably.
not. It's
It's
very
as intimate as you said.
Yeah.
Those are my favorite kind of venues.
Yep.
You really can see not only the emotion up close of the actors, but you feel like you're part of the story.
a very integral and important part of this particular story.
It's
to
not
be fact.
interactive. Is it interactive?
No, it's not
Okay,
interactive,
good.
but you can get some German beer and some pretzels.
Oh, now this
you
I
know,
love.
And
Yes.
sit at little tables.
But I don't want to be part of the show unless I auditioned for it.
Sure. No, you will
That's
not be
what I
pulled
say.
up on stage.
Never without rehearsal.
Right.
You're a taskmaster. I can see that. I'm sorry, Louis. This must be really hard for you.
Oh, no, not at all. A taskmaster with love.
Craig, are you loving directing more than acting? What is your favorite?
I love being able to toggle back and forth. Now, since I'm in my 60s now, it's really nice to be able to be a director, to kind of like shape plays in the world of the plays and to help other people have the kind of rich experience that I've had in Twin Cities theater.
And what is that? How do you describe that? Because I agree with you that there is it's something very special, and to see people grow in a role is so wonderful.
It is really wonderful, and I get a chance to work at a lot of different theaters with a lot of different people. I work a lot with the University of Minnesota with their BFA program, and so helping younger college actors sort of get a foothold within the theater community and figure out what their skills are and what the opportunities are around here. I just want to help people have as good a time in Twin Cities theater as I've had.
Well, it certainly seems like you are. So great to see you, Louis, and congratulations on this great role. I mean, I'm very excited for you. It's wonderful. And Craig, really nice to meet you as well. Craig
Nice to meet you.
Johnson and Louis Youngren. Don't miss I Am My Own Wife, and it's going to be at the Lakeshore Players Theater in White Bear Lake. And you are listening to another edition of Community in Depth on AM 1460 and FM 97.7 KDWA in Hastings.